Hey guys, your boy Grizzly here. I can finally welcome you today, January 16th, with the official notes released for the first big early access patch for POE2. It is a really long list, so I'm not gonna, spend like 30 minutes, like I spent on my last video to show you my summary and personal takeaway. So this is going to be more informative. Of course, there will be a link posted under the video for all of you who wants to check the details. All these changes are going to be implemented tomorrow, January 17th. As we covered before, there's going to be new endgame tower maps. Tower maps are going to be revisited. They're going to add checkpoints to the map area, so you don't have to, if you missed an elite, you don't have to go all the way back. You can just use the checkpoints. There's gonna be changes in the pinnacle endgame content, some monster changes. They're gonna buff a lot of the monster density, especially in some particular maps. They're gonna make significant improvement to the uniques. This is what they told us. This is one of the key things here. And of course, there's going to be a lot of quality of life and bug fixes. The first part of the big list here is the endgame changes. Again, the 4 new tower maps. There's a lot of improvements for the Arbiter of Ash Pinnacle boss. You're now going to have up to 6 respawn attempts. There's some other changes, like for example, it will no longer attack minions with his sword, and this way it won't interrupt their skills and stuff like this. So yeah, map areas will now contain a minimum of 3 rare monsters. Citadels are now visible and they will appear closer to your starting point, which is the Ziggurat Refuge. Apps are now gonna display their biome under the names. So when hovered in the atlas, there's gonna be a new precursor tablet that's gonna add bosses to your maps, the same way you can add Breach, Delirium. So yeah, they made some tweaks to the maps. For example, some maps are gonna have double the amount of chests, twice as many minimum magic or rare chests. Some maps are gonna have double monsters, double the amount of monsters. Some maps we're gonna have 50% more blue or yellow elites. Other maps are going to have like more essences and strong boxes, shrines, etc., etc. Regarding the unclaimed hideout areas on your atlas, you have more magic monsters now and a few rare monsters. Tainted Paradise map, which is a unique map, has been buffed as well. There's gonna be way more monsters there, and if I get this correctly, there's gonna be like 4 times more magic and rare monsters as well. And they've nerfed the monsters, damage scaling and simulacrum encounters. They've also buffed the simulacrums in general, the drop rate and everything. And regarding your atlas, you can now zoom out further so you can have greater visibility of the uncovered and covered areas. Moving on to the skill changes, they capped the supercharged slam. Scavenge plating will stack differently depending on the monster type. They made some other changes to lightning bolt and to some other effects as well. I'm not gonna follow too much into detail, so I'm gonna move on to the monster changes. So now moving on to the monster changes, they've increased the toughness per essence modifier affecting the monsters. They've added a small delay once you click on the essence monsters to release them. They don't start bombarding you with all kinds of spells and attacks right away. So yeah, here they explain for a different essence type of rares, what they do and what has been changed. They've nerfed some of the other normal monsters, for example, the vomit skills, the big fat guys that spit poison into you, and this has huge range, now deals less damage. And they made also some readjustments and nerfs to some of the bosses that you meet through the campaign, like Bloated Miller, Zaman the Colossus. This is the cave giant boss in Act 2. And also they've nerfed Balak's Tornado. Balak is that bird boss in the ultimatum that basically whenever it spawns Tornado, gets you one-shotted right away. They also readjust some of the attacks of they've also readjusted some of the attacks of Jamanra and the Executioner. And for the rest, you can actually see how they kind of tweaked damage and density of some of the monster types in some of these areas. Moving on to general changes and improvements, they've now enabled SSF leagues to migrate to their corresponding parent leagues like standard or hardcore. If you're playing hardcore soul found, you're gonna be able to move on to just a hardcore league. It's gonna be a migration button for this in your menu. There's some strong box changes here. They're gonna spawn the monsters in a shorter period of time. Whenever they all the waves are being spawned, the fog effect will disappear, and they've also increased the chance of research strong box encounter. They've also added a visual effect that can help you distinguish the monsters being spawned from the strong boxes from the others. The volcanic crack, lightning storms, ice spikes, and chaos barrage strongbox modifiers have all been adjusted to activate after a delay. And charms will have a different effect on your character when they are automatically used. I believe this is about visual effects again. So yeah, you'll now be able to resocket runes here. Now you can also salvage flasks with quality. They buff the significance of armor. You will now be able to push monsters while dodge rolling. This is applying for smaller monsters, of course. You can't really push away Goliaths and stuff like this. Alright, so they made some other changes like buffing the omens, and they will appear more often as ritual rewards. Tweaked the item rolls a little bit because now you're gonna be less likely to get less desired modifiers like mana, life per kill, life regen, things like this. There's gonna be an exit to the Trial Master Arena. There's no longer gonna be a level requirement for the expedition vendors. The rarity of items in expedition vendor shops will now increase with shop level. By the way, it's very important that this is not gonna take effect immediately. You still have to use and spend some currency to reroll the shops, then you get the new and updated shops there. So they made some other small quality of life improvements. The revive time has now been reduced. You will now be able to gamble in your hideout. Reviving minions will now revive them right next beside you. The quest tracker is now being updated as well. It's going to be a bit more intuitive. You're also going to be able to see the level of the uncut gems on their label. And this is a very nice change too, because now we're going to be able to see how many charges we have active on our charms. Monsters will no longer be spawning near the entrance of the map, so you won't be attacked right away and while your loading screen still on. And now one of my most favorite ones here is that the delirium monsters are no longer gonna be untargetable during their emerge animation, and they're not gonna push you. And I can't tell you how happy am I to see this, because this has stopped me so many times. Alright, so now moving to the unique item changes section. I'm not gonna go through every single unique, I'm not gonna read all this, but even from first glimpse you can see that they've buffed the stats of the uniques significantly, and the good thing here is that not only they've improved the stats, but they've also added some more stats, like more affixes to a certain unique. So it doesn't matter if you're leveling or in the early end game, whenever you find a unique, there's gonna be a significantly higher chance for you to be able to use it, and it's gonna result in a good way to your performance. It's gonna take me like 30 minutes only to read all this, so I'm not gonna do it. Moving on to bug fixes, seems like GrizzlyRageR games have managed to fix some of the crashes. Mana Flare, Elemental Discharge skills are now considered triggered skills. Yeah, there's lots of bugs they fixed. It's a really huge list. They have made some control improvements as well. I believe that now you have this option when you can customize your user interface to be looking the way it looks on PC as well. Moving on to console improvements, like most of you already know, there's gonna be a loot filter for consoles. It's gonna be downloadable at the POE1 website. So if you're looking at from the POE2 website, it won't be there. And the link is actually gonna be provided to you in the filter sections of the setting menu under Game tab. Heading towards the end of patch notes, they made some other changes. They've also added some more cosmetics. If you wanna get the full list of the cosmetics, you can just go at the bottom of the patch notes, and it's gonna be under tab microtransactions. They ended their patch notes with some of the changes that they weren't ready to implement yet, but are still preparing, and we can expect them to come soon, such as the multiple response of other Pinnacle bosses. Right now, only the Arbiter Ravash is fixed and has more response. They're gonna soon be adding the map stash tabs as well, so we're gonna stay tuned for this one. And this is pretty much it. I hope I was able to summarize the most important stuff and didn't miss anything significant. Again, I'm gonna be posting the patch notes below under the video in the description, so you're gonna be able to check them out yourself. Please leave a comment below. Don't hesitate to give me your opinion on the patch, on everything, and see you soon. Grizzly out.